Hello and welcome into the crypto bunker. So I wanted to talk to you guys about Tezos. Tezos is a proof of stake blockchain, similar to what Ethereum is moving towards. So it's energy efficient blockchain, and they're actually a sponsor of the New York Mets. They also recently became a sponsor of Manchester United. But I just think it's interesting that Tezos is going out there and sort of doing what FTX has done with having the patches on the Major League Baseball umpires. They are doing this with sports franchises. So with Manchester United, they're actually going to be on the front of the jersey, since that's how they do sponsorships in the Premier League and in most soccer leagues. And for the Mets, they are just this massive logo underneath the Citi Field, screen here, which is really cool. So I just wanted to go into that and just talk about Tezos a little bit and just talk about the partnership and kind of where it's going. So Tezos is working with the New York Mets for blockchain awareness in time for 7th upgrade. So the New York Mets have, in August of 2021, they announced that the addition of open source blockchain Tezos as an advertised brand at Citi Field Baseball Park. Collaboration will see the Tezos brand featured on the iconic center field scoreboard and around the ballpark. So I think you can also see it in the bullpen. And they're basically trying to push to raise awareness about how blockchain technology can transform the world. And Citi Field is really one of the most recognizable sporting venues in the New York region. So as more people start to learn about blockchain every single day, the Mets and Citi Field are amazing properties to introduce Tezos to New Yorkers. So this is one of the biggest franchises, and obviously I'm biased, I'm a Mets fan, but this is one of the biggest basically franchises in the world in terms of fans. Sort of similar to, the Pittsburgh Steelers or, the Patriots, or just some of these major, like the Yankees organizations. The Mets are really one of the best traveled fan bases. And so this is a pretty big deal. And also the fact that Steve Cohen is the owner of the New York Mets is kind of telling me that, because he is one of the best investors of all time, he obviously knows that this is an investment, that this is a cryptocurrency that he's sort of aligning himself with. And so he wouldn't do this by accident. Steve Cohen decided to replace the iconic Nikon, sign. And Steve Cohen, his personal and professional interest in blockchain technology may have had something to do with it. In May of this year, basically, Bloomberg had reported that his hedge fund Point72 was looking serious at crypto. They said, "We are exploring opportunities around blockchain technology and its transformative and disruptive capabilities. We would be remiss to ignore a now $2 trillion cryptocurrency market," which is now down to like $1 trillion because we've had a big sell-off. So Cohen's interest in cryptocurrency markets can't be ignored. Several years of scrutiny and apprehension to the space may have resulted in missing out on the beginnings of the crypto revolution. However, it now appears Cohen is finally on board. He said, "I already feel like I missed the first part of it, but I still feel like it's early," he said in a recent interview. Cohen seems to have a forward-looking perspective on crypto. Rather than setting his sights on the fluctuating price of a specific token, his interests lie more in the application of the blockchain technology itself. He says, "I don't care about Bitcoin. I care more about the technology behind the blockchain and how transformational it is and how disruptive it could be." So this is really big, I think, because, like I said, Steve Cohen is not someone that does something like this by accident. He obviously had a big part in this. And so I think that there could be things built on Tezos that involve the Mets, like NFTs. So if you think about like digital trading cards, digital ticketing, I think that the Mets could make tickets for, NFTs. And so I actually agree with Steve on this because I don't care about Bitcoin either. I care about the underlying technology that allows us to connect to the blockchain and connect to corporations like the New York Mets. And so I think this is a big partnership. And I think that, not enough people are really talking about Tezos sort of stepping up and being part of this sports ecosystem. They also announced a partnership with McLaren Racing as a fan-focused NFT platform. And they're also the official blockchain partner of Red Bull Racing, with the racing team sporting its own NFTs on the blockchain. So yeah, it has its sights on obviously baseball now, and sports teams are beginning to recognize the value of blockchain, and they will continue to. And I think that in the future, Tezos could be, who knows, if the Mets stick with Tezos, which it seems like they would, because you wouldn't just commit to having a blockchain be a major sponsor of your team if you weren't committed to building on that blockchain in the future. So I think this is really cool. I also just wanted to look at sort of the Manchester United Tezos sponsorship. Manchester United signed a multi-year deal with Tezos that will seek also to make them a sponsor. And I think that some people would look at this as like, in terms of in the blockchain world, they would look at it as like a centralized thing, because blockchains aren't really supposed to be spending money on advertising. But I think that as we move forward, blockchains will sort of be more like companies. And obviously Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to be the most decentralized. So they're not going to have advertisements out there because they're supposed to be that's supposed to be what blockchain is. It's supposed to be, basically secure from any centralized people making decisions. But all of them, still use the tokens as governance tokens. So if you own Tezos, you have the ability to vote on things. You have the ability to put your say out there, just like you would as a shareholder of a company. So I think more and more, blockchains will move towards this sort of centralized aspect. We see Polygon doing this. We see Avalanche. We see Solana. So, there's many of blockchains that do sponsorships like this at this point. So it's interesting, and yeah, the club introduced several fan experiences built on the Tezos blockchain. So they're already building. A lot of these European countries are already on this. They have tokens. They even have fan tokens, which is like, say like New York Mets tokens or Manchester United tokens. So you can actually vote on things like what jersey is the team going to wear, or what pre-song is going to come up for each player. Just things like this that I think in the future, tokens, like, because it's on the blockchain, can be used for things like this, where teams can have the fans participate more. Also NFTs, so just collectibles. People that watch sports, they love collectibles. So that'll be interesting to see how this sort of works out. Let's look at the chart of Tezos. Obviously, it's falling pretty good here, and I still think it would be like a decent time to DCA, because we're sitting on the 200-week moving average here, and we are also far off of the daily. So usually when you have these far drops off, and we're obviously sitting on this this support line here as well for this entire rally, sort of sitting on the lows here, even lower. So this sort of reminds me of this area where we were like falling off the cliff and everyone was freaking out. But I do understand if people are apprehensive towards investing in crypto right now, because obviously any of these tokens could go down 50%. None of this is financial advice. I just think it's cool that you can potentially hold something like this for the future. We do have sort of a trend line forming, and we're like at the bottom of that trend line at this point. So this is sort of a long-term. Since 2019, we've always hit these bottoms and sort of made these higher lows. So it's usually these patterns are pretty bullish. It's like a megaphone pattern, where you have higher highs and higher lows. But I do think that in this market, it's really unknown just in terms of like where we could go. So maybe you buy 100 tokens or something like that. It's not that much, and you kind of just dollar cost average in every month, because I do think we're going through a longer term bear market in crypto. So we'll see what happens with that. But hopefully you guys got something out of the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and have a great day.